Hello students, continuing with our unit 2 recruitment and selection. Recruitment we have already discussed, and in this we'll be discussing about selection. So once the pool has been created and it has been forwarded to the selection say committee or selection team or selection committee, so now selection, they need to choose from that particular pool, that all those applications, all those applicants who they think have got the eligibility and have got the requisite skill set for against the particular job for which recruitment and selection is to be done. So selection can be defined as the process of choosing the right person for the right job. Now recruitment creates the pool, so selection is choosing from that pool the right person for the right job. So selection means to choose. So selection is the process of picking individuals who have relevant qualifications to fill jobs in an organization, and the basic purpose is to choose the individual who can most successfully perform the job from the pool of that qualified candidates. When we talk about the selection, now we have a full-fledged process for selection. So it starts from application pool from recruitment, then primary or screening and interview, application blank, selection test, interviews, background investigation, physical examination. So you see there are few steps which, and at every step you are eliminating certain candidates. That is why selection, it makes a selection a negative process, and in recruitment you do not you do not eliminate any candidate or applicant, but you tend to create a pool, therefore it becomes a positive process. Talking about say selection, so how selection, so this is one of the parameter how selection is different from recruitment, because there is difference in objective. So objective of recruitment is to attract maximum number of candidates, and the basic objective of selection is to choose best out of the available candidates. Then there is difference in process. Recruitment adopts the process of creating application pool as large as possible, and therefore it is known as a positive process, as I was telling you. So selection adopts the process through which more and more candidates are rejected and fewer candidates are selected, therefore it is a negative process. And technically recruitment techniques are not very intensive, they do not require any high skills, or as against this selection process, it requires highly specialized techniques. Therefore in the selection process only personnel with specific skills like expertise in using selection tests, conducting interviews, those are involved. And obviously there is difference in outcome, and the outcome of the recruitment is the generation of the applicant pool, which becomes input for the selection, and the outcome of selection is form of finalizing candidates who will be offered jobs. So starting with the process, we have first is our preliminary interview. So preliminary interview, the purpose of interview is basically to eliminate unqualified applicants which is based on information which is supplied in application forms. Now when we talk about application forms, you must know that application blank or form is the form which is to be filled by the candidate when he applies for the job in the company. So it has got certain parts: personal details, education details, work experience, and family background. So all the parts, they are very relevant from the point of view of gaining information about the candidate. So after there is preliminary interview and application blank, then we have selection tests. So job seekers who basically pass through the preliminary interviews, they are called for the test. There could be various type of tests which is conducted depending upon the nature of the job and the company. These tests can be aptitude test, personality test, and ability test, and are conducted to judge how well an individual can perform tasks related to the job. Besides this, there are some other tests also, like interest test, then psychometric test, medical test, and psychological testing. So all these tests again help you in shortlisting the and eliminating those who obtain unfavorable test score. Then we have interviews. So employment interviews in the selection is say a formal and in-depth conversation between applicant and the selection committee or the employer. So it is considered to be an excellent selection device. Interviews can be one-to-one, panel interview, sequential, and there could be structured, unstructured interview, behavioral interviews, stress interviews. So depending upon the nature of job and the type of job a person is supposed to handle, accordingly interview can be framed, and therefore will help in eliminating those who do not meet job and organization requirements. So once this interview is done, then there is background investigation or ref check which is being done for the candidate. So reference check or ref check and background checks are conducted to verify the information which has been provided by the candidate, whether that is true or not, that is correct or not. So reference checks can be through formal letters, telephone conversation. Generally these days organizations, they outsource this reference checking, ref check and background investigations. So therefore one must not furnish any false details in the application or resume. Then physical examination. After the selection once the background investigation and reference check has been made, so it helps in taking selection decisions. So after obtaining all the information, this most important and crucial step is selection decision to be made. So the final decision has to be made out of the applicants who have passed preliminary interviews, maybe test, reference checks, and the views of line managers are also considered, generally because it is the line manager who is responsible for the performance of the new employee. So once this selection decision has been made, so they are the candidates who receive adverse remark, they are eliminated. Then rest of the candidates are called for the physical examination. So candidate is required to undergo a physical fitness test. So a job offer is often contingent upon the candidate passing the physical examination. Now these days there could be now two different processes for conducting physical examination. One is inside the organization, where there is a specified doctor who undertakes the test of physical examination of the candidate. And second is that organization is giving certain list of tests which candidate is supposed to do in any of the referred hospitals or registered hospitals as directed by the organization. Then after physical examination, it is approval by the appropriate authority. That means adopt objectivity. That means offering a job. So job offer, under this the job is being offered to those applicants who have crossed all the previous, you can say, hurdles, and it is made by the way of letter of appointment or letter of intent. Then it talks about the contract of employment. After the job offer is made, the candidates accept the offer. Certain documents need to be executed by the employer and the candidate. Here is a need to prepare a formal contract of employment containing written contractual terms of employment, right? So finally a candidate who has passed through all these hurdles is being offered the job, and then finally the ball remains in the court of the candidate whether he is accepting the job or not. But there could be certain barriers in the effective selection. First is perception, then fairness, validity, reliability, and pressure. Sometimes perception builds inability to understand accurately. That perception becomes the most, you can say, the fundamental and the first barrier for selecting the right candidates. So your perception can be based on anything while choosing the particular candidate for a particular job. So selection demands an individual or a group to assess and compare the respective competencies of others with the aim of choosing the right person for the job. But sometimes views are highly personalized and it might be perceived differently. So perceptual ability has to be taken into priority, that this type of biasness might creep in when you are choosing a particular person. Then fairness. um, Fairness in selection requires that no individual should be discriminated against on the basis of religion, region, race, or gender. But the low number of women and other less privileged sections of the society in the middle and senior management positions are open discrimination, and open discrimination on the basis of age in job advertisements and the selection process will suggest that all the efforts to minimize inequity have not been very effective. So one needs to be very fair while choosing a candidate for a particular or specific job. Then validity and reliability. Now this is precisely towards the test that you are choosing, you are selecting for implementation in selection. So validity is the test that helps to predict job performance in an incumbent. So a test has been validated can differentiate between the employees who can perform well and those who will not. However, a validated test does not predict job success accurately. It can only increase possibility of success. So that means the type of test which is being used for selection, it has to be very very valid. You need to have a valid test, depending upon the nature of the job, and simultaneously it has to be reliable, which will produce consistent results when repeated in similar situation. So if a selection test is valid, it has to be reliable as well, because otherwise it will generate a wrong result and help you in making a wrong decision for choosing a candidate. Then pressure. Sometimes there is pressure which is being brought on the selectors by the politicians, bureaucrats, relatives, friends, unions, and their bosses. So candidates selected because of compulsions are obviously not the right ones. So appointments to the public sector undertakings, generally they take place sometimes under such pressures. So these might be certain barriers to effective selection. But there are recent trends in recruitment process, which is internships, summer internships, competitions, direct apply, approach people, other methods, guest lecture, visiting faculties, workshop, live projects, and exams. Summer training, as we know, that it is one of the very common recently used trend for recruitment process, because students who go for summer internships or training with the companies, they might be given pre pre offers, pre-placement offers, that is PPOs, and this helps them in saving cost, and it helps them in knowing the potential candidate very fairly for a specified particular number of days, and gives a very a very clear idea about the potential candidate. Then competitions, organizations conduct competitions these days online, these days on social networking sites, and certain companies have developed apps as well, and those who emerge as winners, they are being called for interview, and they are being so certain steps of selection gets eliminated for them. And then approach people, that is you are poaching them through various methods. And what is more recent trend in recruitment process is these days guest lecture, because on these colleges or management colleges, maybe any of the colleges where professional education is being imparted, person are called from corporates and from organizations to deliver lecture. So as a guest lecturer, you are having a person is having an idea about the type of skill, the type of students available in the college or the campus, and therefore might take a positive image of that particular college in terms of candidates or students, and might refer to the organization as a source of campus selection. Then visiting faculties. Similarly, visiting faculties from various corporate houses, they visit colleges they take lectures, they have one-to-one interaction with the students, and they might refer those students to their companies. Then seminars, workshops, again a very genuine platform of interaction, meeting people, meetings, possible candidates, under one roof, also helps in recruitment process. Then live projects, these days most of the marketing companies, or they go for having live projects. Live projects are as good as your internship. So again, students who perform well in live projects, they are offered with the jobs. And finally, exams or competitions which are being held at the national level, and are open to any of the potential candidates whosoever is having the eligibility. So on the basis of those exams, you might shortlist your future potential candidate for your organization. So this was a bit about selection from unit 2. Thank you.